I just want to speak about the emotion of anger, rage, and how important it is. Because I think we have this notion that anger and rage are bad, are scary, should be pushed down and repressed. And I think it's really not true. I think that anger is a very important emotion to feel, perhaps one of the most important um, sign points that we have to what's really going on inside of us and our healing process. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Anger is it's something that I never really felt much in my life. Almost really admired people who felt anger, who felt it like burst up and come out. And there's this element of fire associated with the emotion of anger. I think that's what I picked up when I see people who kind of feel their anger in little things, who just feel things come up and like they just are able to express it. I always thought that was really amazing. It reminded me of this fire just burning up and burning out and releasing what it needed to release. It's more of this pent up rage, this pent up anger that gets suffocated and then becomes toxic. And then when it comes out, it becomes a big problem. I think that's the anger that we're thinking about when we connote it with something negative. But also, we're often afraid to feel our own anger. We're afraid to go there, and so we push it down and it becomes something else. I think a lot of times what's underneath anger is something even more important, and that's the piece of why it's so vital to get in touch with our anger and to release it. Oftentimes, under anger, there's grief, there's sadness, there's loss, there's an inner child, a wounded child who's hurting, who's alone, who's scared. And this all gets covered up. And this gets because those things can be too scary to feel, especially as a child. We don't want to feel alone. We don't want to feel abandoned, and so we put together construction that keeps us safe. And then over time, that can build and become this ball of something else. Anger can form, but it's interesting because sometimes we don't even know it, right? Like for me, I've never really felt much anger in my life. It's not an emotion that I'm very familiar with. I think I'm familiar with a lot of different emotions. But a lot of times for me, it's been very positive emotions, right? Like I have a lot of excitement, I have a lot of positivity, and negative emotions. There's been sadness as well, for sure. But things like anger, resentment have been pushed beyond my conscious mind. I haven't actually been really aware of them. Like, no, I don't really have that many problems with other people or with things or anger about things in my life. It's just, yeah, so I've always found this fascinating. And recently, yeah, I'm telling you this, it's there. Don't worry. It's not like I don't have anger. Um, yeah, I've spent the past few years doing a lot of healing work, working with healing allies, such as kambo, ayahuasca, machuma, different plants, different teachers, with myself, with my breath, with my body, working with tantra, working with body work. All of these things have helped bring up the true emotions that have been there. And most recently, my most recent, well, it's actually been a lot of different things, but yeah, I was sitting with kambo and I had, a process, cleansing process. And underneath at the end was this deep emotional process that needed to happen. So after the physical, it was like, okay, that was just on top. Underneath, and it brought me back to a place that I've been many times in the past years as I've started to uncover what's really there. And there was this emotion, and I was crying, and then at the core there was anger. There was this like this knot. And I felt it before. I felt it through come through body work, through like connecting with my belly, through belly massage, anything that taps into the solar plexus. And anyway, in this kambo session, it really tapped into that again. And it's brought it to light for me more, and it's something that I've been thinking more about and feeling more into, and really trying to get back in connection with my body to honor it, because it's like when we realize these things are here, we have, the next step is to kind of like take action and do something with it, not just cut your head off. I don't mean cut your head off, but like I sort of use this analogy, like living up in the head, living detached from the body. You have to go there and honor it. And this rage, yeah, it feels wild when I tap into it. Often it feels like it's not negative. It's not about wanting to do something bad to someone. It's just this like what it is. It feels like my power wanting to come back. And so I'm just sharing this because I think this sacred anger, why do I say sacred anger? I don't even know why I say it, because it feels like it wants to be sacred. It feels like it wants to be named as sacred anger. It might live in us at different times. It might not live in you. I'm not saying it does, but yeah, oftentimes at the core of some complex emotional block or tanglement, there is an anger. There is something that wants to come out through the voice, through the body, through crying, through screaming. And it may be ours, it may not. It may be ancestral. It may be, I feel this a lot with like the deep feminine. There's something in the feminine that is like wanting to break open. And it doesn't just feel like me, my life. It's like being a woman in this world. Um, yeah, and yeah, anyway. And on the day to day, just in the more practicalities of life, when anger comes up, honor it. Don't have to push it away and feel like you're going to be a bad person. There's appropriate ways to express this emotion, and there's inappropriate ways, like violence, hurting others, hurting ourselves. These are not helpful or appropriate ways to express, but find a sacred way to express your anger. I remember a few years ago, I had the gift of having this emotion come up in relation to a person. It was rare for me to actually feel like I have anger around this certain thing towards a certain person. And it was really cool because, again, because it's not an emotion I've really let myself feel or felt, or nothing brought it up. I found a way to sacredly express it, right? Like through, I think I was listening to music and moving my body and like using my voice and working with some tools that I've learned through ISTA, emotional release, pounding pillows, um, saying things that I wanted to say, and just doing it in my own space. And it felt so cathartic. So this is a way that you can work with anger. Yeah, didn't know this video would get so long. I am curious your thoughts on this topic. Igniting the sacred fire, the solar plexus, the fire within, which has so many other outlets other than anger. This is not to say like it's all about anger. That's just the topic of this video. The solar plexus is all about our inner power, finding our truth and our confidence, our confidencia. And sometimes there's things that need to be burned through in order to tap back into that fully. So just gonna leave you with that. Yeah, wishing a wonderful day from Peru.